Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a figure walking alone on a vast open path. She strides not out of loneliness, but with an air of self-reliance, her steps echoing the beat of her own drum. She is a woman without a husband, but more than that, she is a woman who has embraced the boundless potential of her autonomy. In our world, we are often told that completion comes from finding another someone to walk beside us to validate our existence. But this is a story many have outgrown. A woman walking alone challenges this narrative. She is not incomplete but whole, living proof that fulfillment lies not in societal roles but in embracing one's own journey. Walking alone is not an act of defiance, it is a dance with freedom. It is the choice to craft a life unbound by expectations, a life where she can explore the uncharted depths of her potential. Each step is an exploration of the world and simultaneously of herself. This path demands courage. To walk alone is to stand against centuries of norms that dictate a woman's worth by her relationship status. It is a profound statement, I am enough as I am. It is an act of radical self-love, not a rejection of love itself. For love, after all, is not confined to romantic partnerships. It thrives in friendships, in passions, and in the quiet moments spent alone. To the woman who walks alone, solitude is not emptiness. It is a space where she cultivates wisdom, strength, and joy. She redefines relationships, recognizing that connection comes in many forms. She dances to life's unpredictable rhythms, unshackled by the need to conform. Let us celebrate her journey, not as a divergence from the norm, but as a reminder that every path is valid, every choice sacred. She shows us that the art of living is not about who walks beside us, but how fully we embrace the road beneath our feet. Thank you. Solitude is often misunderstood in our society. It is frequently equated with loneliness, a condition people are told to escape, a state to be remedied. But solitude, in its truest form, is not an absence but a presence of self. When a woman chooses to walk alone, without a husband, she embarks on a journey of profound connection to her inner being, a connection that society rarely teaches us to value. This path of solitude is not merely a rejection of companionship or tradition, it is a reclamation of her essence. In a world that constantly asks women to define themselves through others, through relationships, roles, and responsibilities, a solitary path is an act of defiance against external definitions. It is the conscious choice to step away from the noise and expectations that surround her, to step into the quiet clarity of her own existence. In solitude, she finds the freedom to explore her thoughts, desires, and dreams without the influence of external voices. The absence of a constant companion allows her to hear her inner voice, the one that is often drowned out by the demands of a shared life. She learns to listen to herself, to trust herself, and to be guided by her intuition. This self-awareness becomes a source of strength, allowing her to navigate the complexities of life with a grounded sense of purpose. Solitude, however, is not an easy path. It requires facing oneself in a way that few are willing to do. When there is no one else to distract or validate her, she is left with her own thoughts, fears, and insecurities. But in this confrontation there is growth. By sitting with her discomfort, by examining her fears, she begins to peel back the layers of her conditioning. She discovers who she is beyond the expectations of being a wife, a partner, or a caregiver. This process is both painful and liberating. It is akin to stripping away old skin to reveal the raw, authentic self beneath. In solitude, she learns to accept herself fully, not as a reflection of others, but as her own entity. This acceptance is transformative. It allows her to move through the world with a sense of wholeness that is not dependent on another's presence or approval. In the quiet moments of solitude, she also reconnects with the world in ways that are often overlooked. Without the distractions of constant companionship, she becomes attuned to the subtleties of life. She notices the way the light filters through the trees, the rhythm of her breath, the silence between sounds. These small moments, often dismissed in the rush of shared life, take on a profound significance. They remind her of the beauty and interconnectedness of existence, a reminder that she is part of something larger than herself. Through this heightened awareness, she develops a deeper relationship with the present moment. She learns to be fully here, fully alive, without needing someone else to anchor her experience. This presence is a gift, one that allows her to savor life in its entirety, the joys and sorrows, the triumphs and challenges. It is a state of being that many spend their lives searching for, often in the arms of others, not realizing it is already within them. Yet solitude is not a retreat from the world, it is an embrace of it. A woman walking alone does not close herself off, she opens herself up. Without the confines of traditional roles, she is free to explore her passions, to pursue her dreams, to connect with others in ways that are authentic and unburdened by expectation. She becomes a participant in life, not merely an observer or a role player. In this openness, she finds a community of kindred spirits, those who value her for who she is, not for the role she plays. These connections are born out of mutual respect and understanding, not out of necessity or obligation. They enrich her life, adding depth and dimension to her experience. Her solitude also serves as a mirror for others. It challenges them to reflect on their own lives, to question the narratives they have been told about fulfillment and happiness. She becomes a symbol of what is possible when one dares to step away from the expected and embrace the unknown. Her choice to walk alone is not just a personal journey, it is a quiet revolution, a reminder that there is another way to live. Freedom is a word that carries weight, yet it is often misunderstood, confined by the very constructs it seeks to transcend. For a woman who walks alone without a husband, freedom becomes an intimate experience, one that goes far beyond the societal notion of liberation. It is not merely the absence of external constraints, but the presence of an unshakable sense of self, an awareness that she alone has the power to shape her life. From an early age, many women are taught to view their identities as intertwined with the roles they are expected to play. They are daughters, sisters, wives, and mothers' roles laden with expectations, responsibilities, and often sacrifices. To step outside these roles, especially to forgo the role of a wife, is to challenge the very fabric of what society deems appropriate or natural. Yet for the woman who chooses this path, this choice is not a rejection of relationships or tradition, but an affirmation of her right to define herself. Without the framework of marriage, she discovers a world of possibilities that might otherwise remain unexplored. She is free to decide how her days unfold, unbound by the expectations of a partner. This autonomy allows her to engage with life on her own terms, to pursue her passions and interests without the need for compromise. She can dedicate herself fully to her career, art, her travels, or her inner growth, unencumbered by the pressures of partnership. This freedom, however, is not just about what she gains, but also about what she relinquishes. In choosing to walk alone, she frees herself from the weight of societal judgment. She steps away from the gaze that measures a woman's worth by her ability to secure and maintain a husband. This is no small feat, as the judgment can be relentless, manifesting in questions, pity, or outright criticism. But in letting go of the need for external validation, she discovers a deeper, more enduring sense of self-worth. Her freedom also redefines her relationships, not just with others, but with herself. Without the traditional framework of marriage, she learns to view love and connection in a broader, more inclusive way. Love is no longer confined to the romantic, it becomes a force that permeates every aspect of her life. She finds love in her friendships, in her family, in her work, and in the simple act of living. This expansive view of love allows her to cultivate relationships that are not based on need or dependency, but on mutual respect and understanding. In many ways, her life becomes a canvas, and freedom is the brush with which she paints. Each decision she makes, each step she takes, is an expression of her individuality. There is no script to follow, no predefined role to play. This can be both exhilarating and terrifying. The freedom to create one's path comes with the responsibility of owning it, of facing the consequences of one's choices without the comfort of shared blame or validation. Yet it is in this ownership that she finds her strength. Her freedom also extends to her understanding of time and priorities. Without the traditional markers of marriage and family, time becomes hers to shape. She is free to live at her own pace, to savor the moments that matter to her, and to let go of those that do not. This fluid relationship with time allows her to cultivate a life that feels rich and meaningful, not one dictated by external milestones or expectations. Society often views freedom through the lens of achievement, what can be accomplished, accumulated, or conquered. But for the woman who walks alone, freedom is less about doing and more about being. It is about the freedom to be herself, unapologetically and authentically. This is a quieter, more profound freedom, one that cannot be measured or quantified, but only experienced. Her freedom also serves as a quiet challenge to the norms that surround her. By living her life on her own terms, she forces others to confront the limitations of their beliefs. She becomes a symbol of possibility, a reminder that there is more than one way to live a fulfilling life. This can be uncomfortable for those who cling to tradition, but it is also necessary. Her life becomes a testament to the power of choice, to the idea that freedom is not something granted but something claimed. Self-reliance is a quality often romanticized in theory but difficult to embody in practice. For a woman walking alone without a husband, self-reliance is not just an ideal, it is the foundation upon which her life is built. It is the strength she draws upon every day, the quiet assurance that she can face the world on her own terms. Yet this journey towards self-reliance is neither simple nor instantaneous. It is a process, one that requires courage, perseverance, and an unflinching commitment to herself. To be self-reliant means learning to trust oneself fully. For a woman, this trust often stands in direct opposition to the messages she has received throughout her life. Society has long perpetuated the idea that a woman is incomplete without a partner, that her stability and success depend on the presence of someone else to guide or support her. To walk alone is to reject this narrative outright, to assert that she is capable of standing on her own 2 feet, no matter the challenges she may face. This assertion is not made in a vacuum. It is forged through experience, through moments of uncertainty and difficulty that test her resolve. There are times when the weight of responsibility feels overwhelming, when the lack of a partner to share the load seems like an insurmountable obstacle. Yet it is precisely in these moments that her self-reliance is strengthened. She learns to solve problems, to make decisions, and to navigate hardships without the safety net of another person. Each challenge she overcomes becomes a testament to her resilience, a reminder that she is stronger than she once believed. Self-reliance is also deeply tied to independence, financial, emotional, and intellectual. For a woman walking alone, financial independence is often the first and most visible expression of her autonomy. It is the ability to earn her own living, to provide for herself without relying on anyone else. This independence is not just about survival, it is about freedom, the freedom to make choices that align with her values and desires rather than those dictated by necessity or obligation. But financial independence is only one aspect of her self-reliance. Emotional independence is perhaps even more significant. In a world that often equates romantic relationships with emotional fulfillment, a woman walking alone learns to find that fulfillment within herself. She develops a relationship with her own emotions, learning to process them without seeking validation or comfort from others. This does not mean she avoids relationships or shuns connection, rather, it means she approaches them from a place of strength rather than need. Her emotional independence allows her to weather the ups and downs of life with a calm assurance. She does not crumble in the face of adversity, nor does she rely on others to fix her problems. Instead, she takes responsibility for her own happiness and well-being. This responsibility is both a burden and a gift, for it grants her the power to shape her own destiny. Intellectual independence is another cornerstone of her self-reliance. Walking alone means she is free to think for herself, to form her own opinions and beliefs without being influenced by a partner's perspective. She is not confined by the need to conform to someone else's worldview or to compromise her own values for the sake of harmony. This intellectual freedom allows her to explore ideas, to question assumptions, and to grow in ways that might not have been possible within the confines of a traditional partnership. Yet self-reliance is not about isolation. It is not a rejection of community or support, but a recognition that true strength comes from within. A woman walking alone understands the importance of building a network of friends, mentors, and allies who support her journey. These connections are not born out of dependency, but out of mutual respect and shared values. They enrich her life without diminishing her independence. Self-reliance also involves a deep connection to her inner self. It requires her to confront her fears and insecurities head-on, to acknowledge her vulnerabilities without being defined by them. This inner work is not always easy, but it is essential. It is through this process that she learns to trust herself, to believe in her own abilities, and to recognize her inherent worth. The journey towards self-reliance is not linear. There are setbacks and moments of doubt, times when the path feels uncertain or lonely. But each step she takes strengthens her foundation, building a life that is uniquely her own. Self-reliance is not just a skill or a trait, it is a way of being, a commitment to living authentically and unapologetically. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing she is capable of facing whatever life throws her way, not because she has all the answers, but because she has the courage to find them. The absence of a husband does not equate to the absence of love or meaningful connections. For a woman walking alone, this freedom from the traditional construct of marriage allows her to redefine what relationships mean to her, unshackling them from societal expectations and opening herself to a broader, more inclusive understanding of connection. This journey of redefinition is not one of rejection but expansion, as she explores the many dimensions of relationships that are often overshadowed by the singular focus on romantic partnership. Without the societal pressure to prioritize a marital relationship above all else, she discovers the profound depth and richness of friendships. Friendships become more than casual connections, they transform into lifelines, reservoirs of understanding and mutual support. These bonds often carry a level of equality and authenticity that is unencumbered by the expectations and compromises that can accompany romantic partnerships. Friends become chosen family, individuals who see her for who she is and stand by her as she navigates life on her own terms. Family relationships, too, can take on a new significance. In the absence of a partner, she may find herself fostering deeper connections with siblings, parents, or extended family members. Freed from the distractions of a traditional marriage, she has the time and emotional energy to invest in these relationships. They become a source of grounding and continuity, a reminder of her roots and a reflection of the shared history that shapes her identity. Her redefined relationships also include her connection with herself. Without the constant presence of a partner, she has the opportunity to cultivate self-love in its truest form. She learns to enjoy her own company, to value her own opinions, and to celebrate her own achievements without the need for external validation. This relationship with herself becomes the cornerstone of her emotional well-being, providing a steady anchor in a world that often feels uncertain. The absence of a traditional romantic partner also allows her to explore different forms of love. Love in her life becomes multifaceted, expansive, no longer confined to the narrow definition of romantic affection. She finds love in her passions, in the work that fulfills her, in the beauty of nature, and in the quiet moments of solitude that bring her peace. This broader understanding of love enriches her life, filling it with a sense of connection that is not dependent on any single relationship. This redefinition of relationships also extends to her community. Walking alone allows her to engage with the world in ways that might not have been possible within the constraints of a traditional partnership. She can dedicate herself to causes she believes in, forging connections with like-minded individuals who share her values and aspirations. These relationships are built on shared purpose and mutual respect, creating a sense of belonging that transcends the personal and enters the realm of the collective. In redefining relationships, he also challenges the traditional notion of romantic love. Without a husband, she is free to explore love on her own terms, unbound by societal expectations of what a romantic relationship should look like. If she chooses to engage in romantic relationships, she does so from a place of independence and self-awareness. These relationships are not about completing her, but about complementing her already full life. They are partnerships of equals, rooted in mutual respect and a shared commitment to growth. Her redefinition of relationships also encourages her to examine the dynamics of power and dependency that often exist within traditional partnerships. By stepping outside these dynamics, she gains a clearer perspective on what she values in a relationship and what she is willing to compromise on. This clarity empowers her to set boundaries and to engage in relationships that are healthy, balanced, and fulfilling. Moreover, her willingness to walk alone can inspire others to question their own assumptions about relationships. She becomes a living example of what it means to prioritize authenticity and self-respect over conformity and obligation. Her life challenges the idea that a woman's worth is tied to her ability to maintain a romantic relationship, offering a different narrative, one that celebrates individuality and the myriad ways we can connect with others. In redefining relationships, she also redefines her relationship with time.